Phoenix. So today I'll be showing you how to make a bathtub with running water tap. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see how that all works out. We'll be using Chaos Phoenix. Now I'm assuming you already have that installed. If you don't, go to the Chaos website and download Chaos Phoenix and just install the plugin. Make sure 3ds Max is turned off, switched off, not running, and then install the application and then go back into 3ds Max. And once you do, you're going to find this menu item called Phoenix FD, right? So if you don't have that yet and all these very colorful icons, then you haven't installed it correctly. So just go again and just redo it. There are instructions online as well. So let's start without further ado. Okay, so this is my my plane. All of these are 10 centimeters at a time. So what I'm going to do is first create a bathtub, or a vessel, something to basically hold the water. So here it is. Very simple. Right, so what I'm going to do is just increase the segments a little bit. Okay, so now let's assume that is your inner layer. So what's going to happen here is we're going to fill this entire volume with water. Okay, so now in order to be able to fill that entire volume of water, we need to hold it into something. So this is the volume of water. This is not the bathtub. So in order to create the bathtub, what we're going to do is we're just going to basically go ahead and select all of this. And we are going to go and hit the expand button because the volume water is actually inside the bathtub. So so what we're going to do is just increase everything by a scale. You can do that by simply going into here, selecting the object and just holding shift and expanding it a little bit. There we go. That's enough. So we're just going to do a copy, not an instant. Repeat, not an instant, a copy. So now we've got two objects. We've got cylinder one. We're going to call this the volume, let's call it water volume, right? So that's actually going to be the water. Cylinder two, which is the one that we just created, that you can actually see out here right now. We're going to call this one the bathtub. Now, so let's just be clear here. So here's the volume of water, and here is the bathtub. They're both the same color. So what we're going to do is make that a blue, okay, and the bathtub can stay that color. So now if I click here, volume of water, and go to isolate, there is my volume of water. So if I add the bathtub encapsulates it. So now, in order to see the volume of water, we need to remove the top cap. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically go ahead and create an edit poly. There it is. And we're going to go and hit polygon. But before we do all that, actually, let's give us some volume. So let's do a shell modifier on the outer edge, right? So now we've got a shell modifier, and just get a bit of volume there. Hang on, is this? No, we're doing it on volume water. Oops, sorry guys. Let's delete, and delete. Okay, now it's the outer edge, the bathtub. My mistake, bathtub. So what we're going to do is select the bathtub, and we're going to give it a bit of volume, as in make it thicker. So we're going to add a shell. Okay, and let's just assume that we're going to add it outwards a little bit. There we go. So now what we have here is we've got, if we go into this mode, the wireframe mode, we should be able to see quite a few little wires. So now the one that's the most inner, so this green one, right, that's your water. These outer ones are just the bathtub, okay? We can get them closer a little bit later on, and I'm not being super creative here as far as the bathtub itself. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back over here, add the faces. So I'm going to go ahead and select the outer most layer, which is the bathtub. I'm going to go to edit poly, and I am going to select the polygon. Now, as soon as I do that, I'm just going to click here and delete. Now, inside is where your actual bathtub water volume is. So it's actually inside, okay? Now, remember that when we expanded this, right, we found that if we go down here, we have an inner layer here, and that inner layer is actually your another object. So let me just go back here. Okay, so here's your volume, your bath water or your water volume, right? So that stays put, and that stays as it is. We're not going to touch that. Now we go back up here. This is your outer shell. Okay, so we are going to keep that as is, and we'll see how that all flows. So now, let me just see that one more time. Okay, let's just make sure. Okay, all right. This here is the bathtub. Okay, and it's actually located. So let me remove that one as well. So now I should actually, if I go here, if I did this correctly, yeah, this is the volume of water right there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and select the outermost edges here and the innermost edges here, and I'm gonna just do a bridge. Okay, so that gives me that corner right now. I'm not super excited about how this looks right now at the moment, but anyway, that's essentially your bathtub. Or volume of water, tank, whatever you want to call it, and this is the volume of water. Now, in order for us to be able to fill the volume of water, what I'm going to do to make it simple and so it's not visually nuts, what I'm going to do is just going to select the volume of water, and I will be isolating it. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so if you see here on the left hand side, the bathtub is not visible, so let's just focus on the water volume. All right, now what do we do? Okay, so it's quite simple. What we're going to do now is we're going to go in top view. So this is the actual volume of water. We're going to go and click this create a Phoenix liquid simulator. So what we're doing is going to click it, and the moment you do, it gives you a little cross. You're just going to basically stretch it across the entire volume of water. You're going to hold Alt and middle button and spin it up, so now you can give it a little bit of height. So once you get the right height, make sure that it encompasses the entire thing. You can adjust this a little bit later, but you're going to see on the right hand side, you're going to get a whole lot of information here, right? So what I'm going to do is just going to click out here on the left hand side. You're going to see Phoenix FD Liquid 001. You can rename if you wish. So now we're going to go on the right hand side, and we're going to go into the modify tab, and it's going to be called object. So the entire Phoenix FD Liquid 001 is called object under the modifier list, and you're going to see a whole lot of different options. I'm going to expand this so you can actually see how many options there are. That's it, folks. These are all your different options for the actual water simulator, or as they call it, the Phoenix Liquid Simulator. So you've got the simulation speed. So the speed of simulation is super important. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. Re-simulation, so that means that every time you start it, you will basically start from a 0 point or from a custom point. Grid, this is actually the size of this little thing in the top left, in the bottom left-hand side. So that's the size of the effective area, and that is super, super important, right? You can increase the resolution, make the little droplets smaller, or make them larger. So these are some of the options you have. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the dynamic. Now, the dynamic is essentially just about, are you going to be using the gravity to enhance this, or what are you going to be doing here? Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, look, we want to first do an initial fill up of the tank. So we're going to go and hit initial fill up percentage, which is 50, and you can adjust this. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there for the time being because I'm going to be very, very bland in this tutorial just to explain a couple of things. Now, these are the number of steps per frame. So in other words, how many little changes happen in each frame, time scale. There's a whole lot of little things here that you can modify. You can start adjusting them in your own time, but not enough time for this particular video. Wet on means that if it gets in touch with something, it straight away triggers a wet on effect, which is quite good, particularly when you're doing outdoorsy stuff, so rocks and things like that. So that's very, very good. And you've got some texture UVs if you have any active bodies inside. Now, you're going to basically use a couple of things here: simulation speed, grid, dynamics. Now, if you want to add some foam and other little bits and pieces in here, you can use foam, splash. We're going to skip that. Scene interaction, we're going to also skip that largely. We don't need a lot of these things. So what we're going to do right now is just basically minimize this window. There it is. Pull it back, and here we are. Now, before we go any further, what we need to do is tell Phoenix that we want this particular area to provide an initial fill of water. So we're just going to go ahead and click it, right button click, go to Phoenix properties and go to initial liquid fill. Now let me just make sure I actually clicked the right one. Here we go. Yep. And yes, I do. So initial liquid fill. Don't have to change anything else. Okay, that. Now, going back over here on the right-hand side menu, let me just stretch that again. Remember, we had initial fill up of 50%, so we're going to leave that there. I'll show you what when you change that, what happens. Not exciting, it just changes the level, right? So now what it does, it says, I'm going to initially fill up the 50% of this purple elevation, right? So 50%. So you can make this super accurate right up to the very top. So it's very, very accurate. Or you can do what I just did here, a bit lazy. I'm just basically encapsulating the water volume itself. All right. Now, once I've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and click play. All right. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that all the water is outside of the tank, not inside the tank. That's a problem, right? Okay, so the way you're going to solve this is super easy. You're going to tell Phoenix that this particular object, which has all the normals pointing outwards, what does that mean? I'll tell you in a sec. That's the effective area, not the square, okay? So what this has just done is just pushed out everything out of the tank, not in the tank, which is the exact opposite of what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go over here, and under grid, it says here, confine geome, right? Now, if you read the instructions, it says you can specify a close geometry object with normals pointing outwards, which we do have, and the simulation will run only inside the object. Voila, that's it. So let me click that, right? Now it says none here. So go ahead and click none, and now point to the water volume, right, on the left-hand side. Now you go back here and you should see it. Okay, so now let's minimize this one more time. And here we are. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to stop the simulation. We're going to clear all the cache, right? So there's a little bin here, which is simulation case file. So we're basically start from the beginning, right? And now we're going to hit the start button again. See, let's see what happens. There we go. All right. So remember, 50%. Let me go hit the, so the microphone's in the way. All right. Now you can actually see it's correct. It's about 50% of the green area. So we've told it to fill 50. We can change that to whatever we want just by adjusting this number. Not exciting if I do that. So let's just go back here. Okay. So now we've done it, folks. But the story doesn't end there. What happens next? So now if I add the bathtub, right? There it is, great. But now if I remove wireframe and do shading, I got the cap. The top part of this is blocking my view of the liquid. So what I need to do is I need to basically say, look, I don't want any of the outside bits of the water volume. Let me go back to here. I don't want that to be shown at all. I don't want the liquid inside it to be shown. So the way you're going to get rid of that is go to the water volume, right button, click the water volume, go into the object properties. Now you can display it as a box if you like, or you can just go remove render. So I'm going to basically remove the render, and there we go. We should basically now be able to hang on, let me try that again. There we go. Okay, so now I'm saying, look, don't display it as a object, display it as a cube, which is not going to be seen in any render. So now let's go back into the faces. Let's activate the bathtub, Phoenix, and the whole thing. And there we have it, folks. We have a bathtub, right? Which is great. Okay, so now it looks horrible, I know, but that's not going to be the end product. So now what we've got is we've got water inside a bathtub. Fantastic, right? Let me run the simulation. There we go. It's going to weave around a little bit, do a couple of funny things, and settle, right? So we're just going to wait for this particular simulation to end. So I just gave it 100 frames because I want to keep it really short and really tight. I hope you guys are catching on. It's not that difficult. Remember a couple of basic things. In order to bring in the water, you need to add the Phoenix simulator, the liquid simulator, and then turn on the initial fill setting in the properties of the green area. The green area identifies the effective area of where the Phoenix liquid simulator will work in. So what we're going to do now is say, okay, well, that's fantastic, right? But what about the water tap? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just add a tap. Just going to create one. So let's do a very crude, very basic one. Okay, so I'm just going to go here, raise this, and I'm going to go straight into editable poly, and I'm going to isolate this. Okay, all right, so next I'm just going to basically grab this, this one here, and I'm going to create a copy of it. And copy, yep, and another copy. All right. So here I'm going to spin this one around, and I'm going to spin that around the x-axis by 90. I'm going to make it short, and I'm going to scale it down to around about there. Okay, and I'm going to raise you by this much, and this one here I'm just going to basically scale this up there, and I'm going to shift this and up, so we're working the same plane with everything, right? This is about as crude as you're going to get, and there we have it. Okay, so now, not exciting. Actually, if I apply texture on this could actually look really good. But nonetheless, that's not the point. Now, next thing I want to do is identify on this object, where do we want the water to come from? Do we want it to come from here, top? We can choose any which way, what direction we want. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, we want it to come from underneath, right? Underneath. Oops, hang on. Okay, let me describe that. We want the water to come from down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give this object a name. If you name the whole object, the water's just going to splash everywhere. So we need to basically make sure it's coming down from here. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to simply go here, go to poly, select the bottom half, and let's do a little trick here. There we go. And we're going to say no, the clone. It's the clone to object 01. We don't want an element. Okay, so we go to object 01, and now we're going to lift this up. Okay, let's give it a little bit of volume as well. Shell. We don't need to do this, by the way. I just like to do that. Okay, so we've given it a bit of a shell. So now we're going to go back over here to the cylinder, poly, click that, remove that, and there's a little piece down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a name. So this is going to be called the water source. Okay, so now we have the water source. So this is the tap. Let's bring back everything back into the scene. There it is. All right, well, oops, we've just spun all the way around. There it is. Okay, so now we've got the water, we've got the tap, and we've got the water source, which is right here. Next, all we want to do is basically initiate the water dripping. So the way we're going to do that is, again, if I go to top view, so let me isolate, let's just do top view, that would be much easier. And now what I do is I do the same thing, and I basically do that, right? So this is where the tap is, the effective part of the tap. Come back up and increase the size and say, okay, I want it to be here. So basically, all I've told Phoenix is there's something here, and one of these items are going to be the water source. So next, what I do is I notice on the left-hand side, I've got two simulations. I've got Phoenix FD Liquid 1 and Phoenix Liquid 02. And there's another thing missing. We need to also create a liquid source. So we've specified the region. Now let's add the liquid source. So I'm just going to grab this icon and just place it anywhere on the scene. As soon as I do that, right? As soon as I paste that, what happens is that this liquid source generates a new item here on the left hand side. So if I go ahead and click it and go to modify, I'll find that it's asking me to tell it where is the emitter node. Well, guess what? We created the emitter node. So we're just going to go add, and if you go to the left hand side, the water source, that's what we gave it, the name water source. So we click that. If I isolate that again, just make sure that all sides of this, let's do an edit poly again. All sides of this are facing outwards, okay? So that should work its magic, okay? Now, if I go back to unisolate, right? There we are. Now, let's just see what happens now if I turn on the tap. How do I do that? Well, if I go to the liquid 2, right, which is right here. Now, because I don't need to fill up a tub, this is actually a liquid source. I do not need to have initial fill up at all, right? And I also, if I right button click this, I don't have to have initial liquid fill here either, okay? So we can just basically click it and see what happens. So now if I go ahead and click the play button, right? All it's done right now at the minute is it's doing liquid 1, but I'm not getting anything from liquid 2. All right, so now if I stop the simulation, clear the cache, remove everything, so everything's gone, right? Go out, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, play again. It's going to tell me which one do I want to play. Let's play 2, right? Now notice how nothing's coming out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to liquid source. We're going to see the settings here is 50 centimeters. This is the outgoing velocity, which is fine. We're fine with that. So I'm just going to go scroll down here to see what else I need to modify. I do not need to modify anything here. The water source is correct. So, and we want to emit from the surface. Okay, so I'm going to go back to wireframe mode. Debugging this is fun, isn't it? There it is. So now I can see the water source is coming. That's fantastic. That's great. So now we can see that the water source is coming. That's great. But now what we need is we also need the volume of water. So let's go back up here and add the volume. There it is. And the simulation is working. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tank full of water and liquid running into it, right? But the story doesn't end there. We still need to see how this looks in render mode. Okay, so if I now let it run, if I turn, say, my V-Ray render on, it's going to actually stop the simulation while it's happening. So I'm just going to let the simulation go through, do its thing, and done. Okay, so now if I go to V-Ray, and here it is. Oh, okay, I need to put a light on and plane. My bad, rookie mistake. Let me just go back here, got overly excited. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is very simple. add a plane, go to standard. Am I going standard? Oh, okay. Standard, plane, and we're going to add a plane. Okay, that's not a very good plane, but anyway, it will work. Okay, and we're going to also add a dome light. Okay, that should work. Let me see how. Multiply 1. Let me just increase that a little bit. And now let's go to perspective view. Okay, so let me just bring in V-Ray. Let's see. Okay, that's great. All right, now we've got another problem. Notice how in render I'm getting this box. Okay, this is brilliant because sometimes we skip this and we don't realize what's going on a bit later. So now where does this box come from? Easy. Okay, so now if I go back to the first one, which is the Phoenix FD Liquid 001, and I'm going to expand all of the hundreds of properties here. If you go on the right hand side, you're going to see render. Now notice here, it's got a button here called Clutter Geome. Now when you highlight, it says when enabled, render will occur only inside the selected geometric object volume. Note, the Clutter Geome will not work when the render mode is set to volumetric. So we're just going to Clutter mode, and again we're going to select the water volume. Okay, there we go, and it's gone. Excellent. So now we have the ability to see the water inside the vessel. So if you go back with the animation, you're going to see all the different points of animation of what it's done. Look at that. Okay, so it's actually animating. So if I play this, it's a bit crude, I know. It's not the best view, but we will try. Well, I'll show you this in Vantage a little bit later on, so it's a little bit better to see. So now let's just drop that, clean this model up a little bit. Let's go to Cosmos, and we need to change the color of the water. So now it's just a flat blue. So what we're going to do is we can go to materials, and if you go to liquid, say liquid, and that did not work. Okay, let's start again. All assets, please, and liquid, there it is. Now I've done this before, as you can imagine. There is one down here called clear. I like clear, so let's keep the water nice and clean. So if you go ahead and hit that, I'm just going to move this out of view a little bit, and there it is. Okay, now I'm going to select the main screen, go hit M. M brings up the materials. I'm going to go down here, select my water, and click this silly button, and there we go. We're going to get the water. Fantastic. So now drop this. Now I want the water to be blue. Oh, so see-through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically select my water material. I'm going to go to Phoenix FD Liquid 1. Remember, this was the water inside the tank, right? So I'm just going to click that and hit this button, right? So now if I go back to my render, where is my render? Oh, it's over here. Okay. Notice how the water is of a different color. The reason why it's a little bit off is because it's taking on the color of the vessel that it's in. So this is, remember, the bathtub here on the left hand side. It's a bathtub. So this is the actual water inside the vessel. This is the water that's dripping. So now we do the same thing with the water that's dripping. So now we go back over here, highlight the material. We go ahead and highlight the water that's dripping or from the tap, and we do the same thing. So now we've got water coming in and it's falling inside our vessel. So the next thing to do is basically give the vessel or the bathtub some sort of material, say let's call it clay material, or we could go with clay should be fine. Maybe we could go glass. I have not done this, folks, so this is going to be interesting. So let me assume that I want all of this water to be splashing around inside a frosted glass. No. This might crash my computer, by the way. If it does, then congratulations to me. I've done it 5 times already today. Okay, let's go with glass safety. Yeah, why not? And bring that across. There it is. All right, let's see how horribly we do this. So there, oops, that's the actual, that's not the place to do that. There we go. All right, so now we've got something that looks like this. Okay, so we've got a glass material, we've got our water coming in, and we've got a tap. I don't like the material on the tap, so let's change that a little bit. Let's do this as a metal. Yeah, metal, maybe clay, maybe metal wood. No, let's go, ooh, wood actually. That might be a bit strange. Boys and girls, I really don't like to follow the norm, so bear with me here. It's a little bit fun, a little bit crazy, a little bit nuts. It's okay to do that. All right, what do we do here? Let's pick something that looks woody. Let's go for dark wood, or it might just get, it might disappear. Dark wood's a little bit, it sort of vanishes. Let's go with that one. Oh, this one here. Okay, so let's download that. All right, so now let's bring up the material. So hit M, there it is. And where did you land? Okay, so we're just gonna, yep, triplanar, always make sure that's on. So to save us UV mapping. Oh, where did it go? Okay, there it is. Right, fantastic. Took a little while to come along, but that's okay. So triplanar is activated. So we're going to go back here, and now where is the tap? Where is my tap? The water looks amazing. I really like how that looks. And I'm probably going to destroy this whole thing by giving it a wooden tap. I don't particularly care for the time being, but let's call it a Japanese glass bathtub for the time being. Okay, so that's it. All right, so let's get rid of this. So that's how our animation looks like for the moment. This disappears. That's because the background is basically reflecting the light. So in that case, let me change the flooring as well. Let's bring in this. What do we want the floor to be? Because everything's wood, we can also go with wooden planks, maybe something like that. And let's bring back the materials that I just closed, and triplanar, yep, and off we go. Click, and there it is. So now we've got a wooden floor about to happen. Okay, let's just see how that looks. All right, so now we've got a cup with water. Fantastic. And let's also adjust the brightness. Let's bring this down to 1 and bring back V-Ray. Okay, refresh. Okay, so it's a bit greeny, but that's because of the glass that we've selected. And yeah, let me just navigate around this a little bit. There we have it, folks. Right. So that works really, really, really well. Okay, now what we can do is we're going to save this. Completed this, so we've got a encapsulation of water inside a glass and a tap that's spurring water down here. So the next thing to do, like if we can simulate here, just moving the cursor, you can see what's going on. Brilliant, right? So that's a volume of water inside a glass. The glass is kind of transparent, so you can't see it very well, but it's there, believe me. So now, next what we want to do is we want to bring this to Vantage. So the way we do this is we just basically go ahead and click the Vantage button. It tells you to switch it over to GPU, which is fine, so we're going to do that. Now you're going to see Vantage is going to now render this image for us, so we can actually see how it actually works a little bit more real time. Now, where is it? Where did Vantage go? Oh, here it is. Oh, okay. Now here is another problem. So many problems. The vessel is empty. Where is my water? What's happening? Okay. So the way to fix this is you need to turn these little pixelated dots as water into a mesh, because that is the only way that Chaos Vantage is going to recognize it. So to do that, you go to Phoenix, right? And you basically say, okay, Phoenix Liquid, we want that to be an editable poly, right? Good. And another thing, the object. We need to turn the object into a mesh. So we go here, we're going to go into preview. On the right hand side, you're going to find show mesh. So go ahead and click that and remove the particle preview. Okay, so now you're going to basically see the mesh is going to come through Chaos. So you're going to actually be able to see now Chaos taking over from 3ds Max, right? But now here on the left hand side, you can actually see the mesh. So if you go from default view to say wireframe view, you can still see the mesh doing its thing. So if you go a little bit closer in, you'll see it there. Okay, now if we go back to Chaos, right, there is the water. Okay, so that's the edge of the glass. So now let me divide these screens. There's probably a better way to do this, but here it is. Okay, so now on the right hand side you have Chaos Vantage, on the left hand side you have 3ds Max. So let me just bring this back down. Okay, so that's what this looks like for at the minute. Now if I keep on playing this, I'm noticing that my water from the tap is not coming through. So what we're going to do is going to do the same thing. So let me just minimize this window. We're going to go to the liquid simulator. We're going to add edit poly here. Excellent. And we're also going to go to the preview of the object. So we're going to hit object and we're going to scroll all the way down till we see preview. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Show me the mesh. See that? Look at that. And you don't need the particles. Okay. And here on the right hand side, straight away you're able to see that. Isn't that great? So now if you go over here, you should be able to see how that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play. And there it is. On the right hand side, you can see exactly what's happening. Now it's only 100 frames, so it's not that bad, but you can actually see where we're going with this. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how you make a vessel or bathtub or any container, and you make water in it, and this is how you drip water into it using Phoenix Chaos. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this was informative, and yeah, I hope you hit like and subscribe. I'll be doing a lot of these little things here and there. Super busy, so I can't do it every day, but I love doing what I'm doing, so I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and bye for now. Bye.